Have you ever wondered why some people can read the same book as you, yet somehow extract 10 times more wisdom from it? They don't just read, they absorb. They don't just learn, they transform. And centuries ago, in feudal Japan, there was a method so powerful that warriors would spend entire lifetimes mastering a single scroll. Today, you'll discover exactly how they did it, and how you can apply this ancient system to learn anything 10 times faster than everyone around you. There's a forgotten art that separates those who merely collect information from those who embody wisdom. And if you're tired of reading books, taking courses, and watching videos without retaining anything, you're about to discover why. The samurai had a saying, 1,000 scrolls read carelessly teach nothing. 1 scroll studied deeply teaches everything. But there's a catch. This method requires something most people refuse to give: time, patience, and the death of your ego. Before I show you exactly how this system works, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like the video below, and comment on what skill or knowledge you most want to master in your life. This really helps the channel grow and reach more people. Thank you for your attention. Now back to the video. Chapter 1: The Scholar Who Couldn't Remember. Kyoto, Japan, 1620. There was a young man named Takeshi, 23 years old, son of a merchant family. His father had saved enough money to send him to study with the scholars, hoping Takeshi would bring honor to their family name. But Takeshi had a humiliating problem. He couldn't remember anything. He'd read a text on strategy, understand it perfectly in the moment, and forget it completely by the next morning. He'd study Sun Tzu's Art of War, nod along with every principle, and when asked to apply it, his mind went blank. His fellow students mocked him behind his back. Takeshi the sieve, they called him. Everything pours in, nothing stays. He tried everything. He read faster, thinking speed would help. He read slower, thinking depth would help. He took notes, made summaries, drew diagrams. Nothing worked. The information would enter his mind like water through a broken cup. One evening, frustrated and ashamed, Takeshi sat in the library long after everyone had left. He stared at a military strategy scroll, tears of frustration blurring the characters. That's when an old caretaker, a man everyone ignored, approached him. "You're reading it wrong," the old man said quietly. Takeshi looked up, startled. "I'm sorry." The old man sat down beside him. "That scroll you're holding, how many times have you read it?" 3 times, maybe 4. "And how much do you remember?" Takeshi's silence was answer enough. The old man smiled sadly. "I spent 40 years as a scribe in a samurai dojo. I copied scrolls, maintained the library, watched young warriors train. You want to know what I learned?" Takeshi nodded desperately. "The warriors who became masters never read a scroll like you're reading it. They studied it. And there's a world of difference between the two." Chapter 2: The First Principle: Show the Complete Copy. The old man, whose name was Kenji, invited Takeshi to his small room behind the library. There, carefully preserved, were dozens of hand-copied scrolls. "The warriors I served had a method called Sho," Kenji explained. "It means first writing, but really it means complete copy. Before a warrior could claim to understand a strategic text, he had to copy it entirely by hand. Every character, every stroke, exactly as the master wrote it." Takeshi frowned. "But that would take weeks." "Months," Kenji corrected. "And that's exactly the point. When you copy a text character by character, something happens that never happens when you simply read. Your hand moves, your eyes focus, your mind cannot wander, you cannot skim, you cannot skip. Every word demands your full presence." Kenji pulled out a scroll, old and worn. "This is a copy I made of Miyamoto Musashi's principles when I was young. It took me 2 months. But I will never forget what's written here, not because I have a good memory, but because the text entered my body, not just my mind." Takeshi picked up the scroll, examining the careful calligraphy. "But Sensei," Takeshi said, "I thought copying was just for scribes, for people who couldn't afford books." Kenji laughed. "No, young one. Copying was the first stage of mastery. The samurai didn't copy because they couldn't afford scrolls. They copied because it forced complete attention. When you read, your eyes can lie to your brain, pretending to understand while actually glazing over. But when you write, your hand cannot lie. Every stroke requires decision, pressure, direction. You feel the weight of every word." Takeshi looked doubtful. "So you're saying I should copy everything I want to learn, the first time, yes, and not quickly. Slowly, deliberately, as if each character contains a secret that reveals itself only through the act of writing." That night, Takeshi began copying a military strategy text he'd read 3 times before. After just 1 page of copying, something strange happened. He noticed details he'd completely missed in previous readings, a particular phrase about timing in battle, a subtle warning about overconfidence, things his eyes had passed over, but his hand now forced him to confront. By the end of the first chapter, copied over 3 days, he understood the text at a level he'd never achieved through reading alone. The wisdom wasn't just in his mind, it was in his muscles, in his memory of forming each stroke. A researcher at Kyoto University who has studied traditional learning methods for 15 years found that handwriting activates multiple brain regions simultaneously, including motor cortex, visual processing, and semantic memory. Students who handwrite notes retain information 34% better than those who type, and the effect is even stronger when copying full texts rather than summarizing. Chapter 3, the second principle show the chanting study. 3 months later, Takeishi had copied 3 complete scrolls. His understanding had deepened, but Kenji told him the work had only begun. Now comes the second stage, Kenji said. Show reading, but not reading like you did before. The warriors would read their copied scrolls aloud, over and over, until they could recite entire sections from memory. Takeishi spent the next 2 months reading his copied scrolls aloud every morning before sunrise. At first, it felt mechanical, repetitive, but by the 4th week, something shifted. The words began to flow without effort. His tongue knew where to go before his mind decided. The text had become part of his internal voice. One morning, while walking to the market, Takeishi found himself unconsciously reciting a passage about adapting strategy to terrain. And in that moment, he suddenly understood how the principle applied to a business negotiation his father was struggling with. The wisdom had moved from intellectual understanding to intuitive knowing. Chapter 4, the third principle, the questioning analysis. After 6 months, Kenji introduced the third stage. Now he said you must question everything you've learned. This is examination. The warriors would gather with their masters and challenge every principle in the scrolls. Not to disrespect the teaching, but to understand its limits, its context, its deeper meaning. Kenji taught Takeishi to ask specific questions. When does this principle apply? When does it not? What assumptions does the author make? What situations would make this advice dangerous? How does this principle connect to other teachings? What would happen if I did the opposite? At first, Takeishi felt uncomfortable questioning texts written by legendary strategists. But Kenji explained, the masters who wrote these scrolls would want you to question them. A principle you accept without examination is a prison. A principle you examine and then accept becomes a tool. Takeishi began writing his questions in the margins of his copies. He debated with other students. He tested principles against historical examples. His understanding deepened from knowing what the text said to knowing why it said it when it was right, and critically when it might be wrong. A professor of cognitive science at Oxford who studies expertise development explains that active questioning, what researchers call elaborative interrogation, increases long-term retention by up to 50%. Experts in any field don't just memorize information, they develop a questioning framework that integrates new knowledge into existing understanding. Chapter 5, the fourth principle, the physical application. In his 9th month of study, Kenji revealed the 4th stage. Reading and questioning are not enough, he said. You must practice practical action. The warriors never studied strategy just to know it. They studied it to use it. Kenji arranged for Takeishi to assist a local merchant with difficult negotiations. Before each meeting, Takeishi would review relevant principles from his scrolls. After each meeting, he would write about what worked, what failed, and why. This cycle of study, application, and reflection created a feedback loop that reading alone could never achieve. When a principle succeeded, it became concrete in his memory. When it failed, he understood its limitations viscerally, not just intellectually. After 12 attempts at applying a complex negotiation strategy, Takeishi noticed something remarkable. He no longer needed to consciously recall the principle before using it. In the moment of need, the right action simply arose, as if his body knew what to do before his mind decided. This is true mastery, Kenji said when Takeishi described this experience, when the teaching becomes you. Chapter 6, the 5th principle, the transmission teaching. In his first year of study, Takeishi had transformed. His retention was near perfect, his understanding was deep, but Kenji had one final stage. Now Kenji said, you must teach what you've learned. This is transmission. You haven't truly mastered something until you can transmit it to another mind. Takeshi began teaching younger students the scrolls he'd mastered, and immediately he discovered gaps in his understanding, questions he couldn't answer, connections he hadn't made, principles he thought he knew but couldn't explain clearly. Teaching forced him to organize his knowledge differently, to find simple explanations for complex ideas, to anticipate confusion and address it, to see his own blind spots reflected in his students' questions. After teaching each principle 10 times, Takeshi found his understanding had reached a level he didn't know existed. The teaching didn't just help his students, it completed his own mastery. Chapter 7, The Complete Method Revealed. 2 years after that first night in the library, Takeshi had become known throughout Kyoto as someone who could absorb and apply strategic wisdom with unusual depth. Scholars who'd mocked him now asked how he'd transformed. Kenji watched with quiet satisfaction. And one evening, as they sat together reviewing a new scroll, Kenji said, "Do you see now why the ancient method works?" Takeshi nodded. "Because it engages the whole person, mind, body, memory, voice, hand, and community." Exactly. Modern people think learning happens in the head, but the warriors knew better. True learning happens when information moves through every part of you. Your hand through copying, your voice through recitation, your mind through questioning, your body through application, your soul through teaching. Most people today consume information like fast food, quick, easy, and forgotten by tomorrow. They read a book in a week and remember nothing in a month. They watch a course and apply nothing. They collect information but never transform. The scroll study method is the opposite. It's slow, it's difficult, it requires humility. But one scroll studied this way teaches more than 100 scrolls merely read. A Stanford researcher who has tracked learning outcomes for over 20 years found that students who engage in what she calls deep processing, handwriting, recitation, questioning, application, and teaching, retain information at rates 10 to 15 times higher than those who simply read or watch videos. The method works not because it's complicated, but because it refuses to let information stay superficial. Chapter 8, Your Path Forward. If you want to truly master any knowledge, stop reading like a consumer and start studying like a warrior. Choose one text, one book, one scroll of wisdom that matters to your life right now. First, copy it by hand. Yes, the whole thing, it will take time. That's the point. Second, read it aloud daily until you can recite key passages from memory. Third, question everything. Challenge each principle, understand its context and limits. Fourth, apply it in real life. Test the teaching against reality and learn from both success and failure. Fifth, teach it to others and watch your own understanding deepen through their questions. This method won't make you learn faster in the way modern culture defines fast. You won't finish 3 books a week, but you will absorb one text so completely that it changes how you think, how you act, how you live. And that single text, truly mastered, will serve you more than 1,000 texts merely read. The warriors who used this method didn't have more talent than you. They didn't have better memories. They simply refused to confuse reading with learning, information with wisdom, exposure with transformation. So I ask you, what's the one scroll you'll commit to studying completely? What knowledge matters enough to deserve your full attention? Write it in the comments below, because the path to mastery hasn't changed in 400 years. It's still slow, still demanding, still requiring the death of the part of you that wants everything to be easy. But for those willing to walk it, the scroll study method transforms you from someone who knows many things into someone who embodies true wisdom. If this video gave you a new way to think about learning, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications for future content. Remember, depth not speed, mastery not accumulation. Thank you for your attention. Until the next video.